Good day, my friends. This is Bojie with Bay Area Real Estate. Y'all know what I do. Man, today I am taking a quick break from making cold calls live because I got busy with a few escrow that's currently pending and got to take care of a few other things. So it's going to be a busy, productive day. And I've been making cold calls for a while, and since the beginning of this year, and I've definitely started to see good benefits from this practice, and see how it changes you. Not I have always been scared of cold calling, and I was never really good with people or on the phone in particular. But now, most of my live calls goes pretty well. You guys can watch a lot of these like live calls on my channel. And of course, you're always going to run into a few difficult people here and there. But, most of the time, I feel just fine making these cold calls. And making cold calls and having great conversation with homeowners is it's always a good feeling. Not only because you feel you've done your job, but you've discovered some potential business opportunities. Right now, I used to be so scared of calling for sale by owner because I used to get cussed out at and I used to get hung up on, and it was just not good. But right now, pretty much every for sale by owner calls are good calls, and even if they reject me, and the rejections are polite, because I've developed the skills, the tonalities, and everything, and just so I no longer come across as a salesperson, and people I found people being much more receptive to me, and I'm still learning. I'm no master of cold calling, and I'll continue to do so. And right now, I've got a couple of deals in the pipeline as a result of cold calling. So it's definitely something that I'm looking to do more and more. And you know, it's one of the most predictable and reliable way of growing your business. That's for sure. And you know, I was doing cold calling because not because I wanted to make a quick bucks, but rather I wanted to make sure I talk to prospects every day, and for me to grow and learn. You know, well, what are better ways to learn? Learn your craft, right? You can sit in a class, but you also need to gain real life experience by talking to customers, clients. And guess what? Cold calling is one of these things that puts you in front of clients, prospects predictably every day. So why not doing that, right? And but I totally get like what a lot of people are saying. I don't cold call. Cold call is annoying. It's telemarketing. But a lot more people, they wish they had the ability to cold call, but they are afraid to do so. So this is what I like to talk about today, is the fear and how to overcome that fear of cold calling. Let me tell you, man, this fear is for real. It is very, very scary thing to do for most of us. Okay. And, I was scared to death making cold calls, but right now I'm fine. I still get a little bit of butterfly in the stomach, but, most of the time I'm fine. I could do it. And it only took me like, I would say like 4 or 5 months to really get this thing under control. And I wasn't cold calling every day making 500 dials, but rather I was cold calling. I was being smart about my schedule. So, and I believe that if I can overcome this fear, anybody can overcome this fear. And more importantly, anybody can overcome any fear of anything that you want to overcome. Okay. So I want to share with you from my experience from the last a couple of months of journey of cold calling, and how I went from being scared and not wanting to make calls till now I could just pick up the phone and dial. I mean, you guys have seen enough of my live call videos, right? I have more that's unlisted. Um, so I've actually made way more recording than what you have seen on my channel. It's a lot, and I'm fine. So here's the thing, okay? This is coming from my experience of overcoming fear of such. I'm not here to tell you to meditate, to do affirmations, to, to write down your inspiration, all that kind of stuff. Those are great, but that certainly wasn't what I was doing. I took a two-part process to overcome my fear. So the first part is it's all internal. It's all internal. It's all mindsets and everything. But that's also the most important part. I would say that's a good 50% of the process that must be done well. It lays a good foundation. And the second part is the action part. Okay, and you want to be strategic about your action. So, so the first part, let's talk about the mindsets and everything. So before you want to conquer any fear of taking any actions. There are several things. Number one is, what does this action mean to you? Do you admire this action? Are you approving of this action, or are you despising this action? So the stuff that you want to do should be something that you want to do and would feel proud of doing, right? Rather than despising it. So first of all, you got to take a look at the action itself. What is it that you want to overcome? Not every fear should be overcome. Okay, there are certain actions that you don't want to do, and you don't want to do. It's despicable, bad, or dangerous. So first of all, evaluate your action. Okay, you gotta be okay, and you gotta think that that should be something that I can do. Being an entrepreneur, hustling is one of those things that every entrepreneur will approve, right? No entrepreneur would despise hustling. Everybody will be respecting you if you hustle, and of course you're free to do it, via cold calling. Guess what? You know, First, what do you think about cold calling? Is that something that you absolutely not only hate, but you despise and you disrespect such an action? Okay, what is your internal beliefs about such an action? So that's the number one thing that you have to be real honest about, about your belief, about, towards yourself. So number two is, why. You got to find out your motivation of taking such an action, which I attribute it to, to basic the most important part of this whole internal mentality mindset shift that helps me overcome my fear, is the purpose and motivation of such an action. Why do I even want to overcome this fear and do the stuff that I'm afraid of doing? What is the why behind it? Okay. And a lot of people I know use money, right? Visualizations and money. I want to make a lot of money, and I need a cold call so I can make money. I need money. I need to change my life so I can live in a big house. I could have big cars. I could, be famous, and then all that wonderful stuff. That's great. You could use money and material possessions, good life, to motivate you to take, those actions. But that's actually not what I've used to motivate me. So here's the thing. Okay, if I want to make quick money, there are other things I could do to make quick bucks. I don't have to cold call. I could drive Uber. I could do DoorDash, Instacart. I can go get a job, seasonal job, part-time job for 6 months to make quick bucks, to pay for pay for my bills, groceries, and all that kind of stuff, right? That you're talking about quick bucks. Okay. So that motivation, okay, of making quick money, it's not going to be strong enough to overcome that fear of cold calling. A perfect example is, you know, I want to go talk to that girl on the street. She's pretty. Um, but guess what? Why am I talking to her? What do I want out of this? Maybe I want to take her home and do what, right? But guess what? Even if I don't take her home and do what, I could still have the same experience with different ways, different channels. I could pay for it, or I could, go online and watch something. You all know what I mean, right? And that's, of course, that's not exactly the same, but that's what people would resort to, you know, instead of choosing to move towards that real goal and overcome that fear. It's because your why, your motivation isn't strong enough to like really help you push through that fear. So my motivation was simple. Okay. Um, do I want to be successful? Yes, I do. And what are ways for me to become successful? I was researching on all these different ways. Have startup companies, or become a good salesperson, or I don't know, meet some rich people, marry to some rich people, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Um, and I've watched lots of these rich people, successful people interviews, and read about their stories. And I found that all of these rich people have a bunch of stuffs in common. We all know they're all disciplined, right? They're all like on schedule. They're all ambitious. They all have all that wonderful stuff. But I took two things that all these successful people all have in common. Number one, they've all been rejected so many times. And number two, they all have the ability to come back from each rejection and learn from each rejection. So I took these two things among all these successful people, whether they're successful like politicians, businessmen, athletes, artists, or whatever. They've all been rejected a lot, and they've all had a lot of failure, and they have all been able to overcome those failures. So I, intentionally told myself this story and made that correlation between success and these two ingredients. So I basically convinced myself that if I want to become successful, no matter how, what ways, I gotta have experienced a lot of rejections. And I also have to be able to come back from all these rejections. These are the rejections are necessary ingredients to help me develop the kind of mental fortitude that I need. And once I have that mental fortitude, success will automatically happen. So that basically became my thinking. Okay, using cooking as an analogy, right? Spaghetti and meatball together with, without these two ingredients, there is no dish called spaghetti and meatball. So spaghetti will be your mental fortitude, your ability to come back from all these rejections. And rejection is the meatball, right? So spaghetti and meatball, rejections, and the ability to come back from the rejections. And of course, in order to be successful, you got to have the right coaching, the right knowledge, the right information, the right platforms, the right partners and opportunities and all that. All those basically becomes your sauce, your seasoning, your condiments, your veggies, and all that. That's gonna make that spaghetti and meatball so delicious. Okay, but without spaghetti and meatball, you're just looking at a plate full of tomato sauce, a Parmesan cheese, but there's no spaghetti and no meatball. So you can have all the coachings in the world, all the informations in the world, all of the whatever in the world, but you've never been rejected, and you don't have that mental fortitude to deal with failures. You'll just be average, right? So this is the story that I'm telling myself. I mean, you can argue with me all day about whether I'm right or wrong, but it doesn't matter here. I'm using this story to convince myself that, guess what? I don't know how I'm going to become successful, but I know once I've gotten enough rejections and once I have built my mind to become very strong, I'm going to have success. Success is going to come to me. I've convinced myself at the beginning of this year that this is the correlation. So guess what? Every day, even though I don't know what to do to become successful, I know what to do to get more spaghetti and get more meatballs. And I'm in real estate business. So how to become successful in real estate? Same thing. You gotta, have a lot of rejections and be able to and be okay with these rejections and handle these rejections, learn from it. And what are the best ways to get some rejections every day? Guess what? Cold calling and door knocking and all that. You got to be talking to people and asking for business. And that's how you get rejected. And that's how you get your spaghetti, your meatball. Okay. And then you get your spaghetti once you get your meatball. Okay. So that's another. So in summary, that is basically me coming to a term and acceptance of a reality that I'm telling myself that, guess what? There are no other ways. Of course you work smart, you do all that, but certain things, you know, there's no such a thing as working smart. There's certain things you gotta have. You gotta go get some. You gotta go get more. So rejections and the ability to handle rejections becomes what I didn't have. And I realized that those are the things that I need to get. And I cannot get those things by paying someone money. I gotta go through that experience. And I've come to a term and acceptance of that reality. So guess what? There's no more questions. Now it's just a matter of how much meatball are you getting today? How much spaghetti are you getting today? And that's it. So that became the foundation of my motivation of why I need to do this. I wasn't doing cold calling just to make quick bucks, but to actually get the necessary ingredients that I need in life to become successful. Okay. And a lot of people have mentioned that cold calling is horrible, man. You're interrupting people's day, and people hate you for that. And that, in fact, is definitely one of my inner voice too. When I was making cold call, when I was about to make the dial, I was saying the same thing to myself too, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. People are gonna hate me for interrupting their days. So again, you want to overcome this inner voice, you gotta be able to take a look at that action and approve or despise that action. So what is your honest view of cold calling? And what can you do to change that view? Okay, if it's a negative view, can you turn that into a positive view? Okay, so my example is I used to be a waiter in a restaurant, and I was scared of talking to customers, and especially when customers are eating. My boss used to hand me like 2 pitchers of water and say, go out there and ask everybody if they need more water, how they're doing with their food. I was like, oh no, man, they're eating, they're talking, they look pretty happy. I don't want to go there and interrupt their experience. And my boss was like, get your ass out there. So I had to approach every table and be like, how are you doing? Do you need more water? Right? How's your food? You know, and a lot of them would, of course, I am interrupting their day. I am interrupting their chat with their friends. But guess what? It only take them a few seconds of that experience, really. And they know I'm checking on them in case if they need anything. And most of them appreciate me. And they're glad that I'm around. I'm checking. It gives them a peace of mind, like, okay, at least someone is working in the restaurant in case I need something, right? So guess what? Everybody gives me a good response. They're being more receptive. A lot of them say no, thank you, appreciate it, or whatever, right? And you run into a few that say, oh, please, I need more water. Oh, can I have the bill, right? Can I order another dish to take out? Whatever. You'll discover some people need something right there and then. And guess what? Aren't you glad that you're there to take good care of them, right? So at the end, you know, I thought the action was horrible. You're interrupting people's day, you're interrupting people eating and stuff, but they love it, and my boss love it. And after the action, I feel great about it too. And I look at the tip that I'm getting, I'm like, yeah, I did my job, and they know I did my job. So real estate shouldn't be any different from waitering in a restaurant. Of course, you have the potential to make like 100 times more money than waiters, but in terms of your approach to customer, right, to clients, so convince yourself that you're not calling to look for quick money, to be a salesperson, right? I'm not calling to convince you to sell your home, to overcome all the objections of no. And that's not what you're doing. Just like when I approach these tables of customers, I didn't try to upsell them more expensive dishes or convince them to order some more chocolates or whatever, beers or booze. No, I was basically just there to check on them, to see how they're doing in general with their dining experience. So same thing in real estate. You're calling them to find out how are they doing, in terms of real estate in their life, and if there's anything you could do to help them. So that is just like a waiter checking on tables of customers. You're basically a real estate waiter when you're calling. And are you okay with such an action? Or are you completely despising such an action? Right? It's the same action, but now you change your view. You flip that around and you turn that into at least I turn that into a much more acceptable action. And guess what? Internally, there's nothing really holding me back. Now it's just a matter of dealing with the emotion on the spot, which leads to, the second part of the process. Okay. The action part. So with the action, I took baby steps. I know that initially I'm going to be horrible with cold calling. I am probably going to get my meatball, my rejections, uh, as soon as I call, as soon as I get someone on the phone. And so my goal and expectation was just get your meatball and get your spaghetti, get your rejections. You know, at that time I didn't have a dialer. I didn't want to pay money to get a dialer. I just wanted to finger dial these expires and for sale by owners and whoever, right? And I was making 30 to 40 dials by hand, and I would speak to maybe five, six people, and I would definitely get my spaghetti and meatball, and lots of rejections, and some of those are pretty harsh. And when I get my first rejection, okay, I take a break, I check in with myself, and be like, how does that feel? There you go. Here's a rejection that you're longing for. Okay, and that successful person that you idolize, he probably had tons of those already, and he still pushed forward and become successful in life. Now this is your first. How do you feel? I would take a minute to check in with myself. Okay, not so bad, right? Glad you did it, right? Okay, great. Now, can you do another one? Can you get another one? So, all right, let's go get another one. So start dialing again. And so that was literally the beginning of this whole undertaking, right? I get 3 or 4 rejections today. I say today's a good day. And then maybe in the afternoon, I'll take like an hour or two. I'll just do a hiking or walking around the block and just basically spending some time with myself, and just really reflect on these 3 or 4 rejections that I got today. And another important thing is, have a partner. okay, either a mentor or partner or friend who is supportive to what you're doing, what, this whole undertaking. Tell your friends about what you just did. Okay, tell your friends about such rejections. The rejections. Don't just tell them the negative. Also tell them the positive. Wow, I felt great. I can't believe I actually did it. Yes, I got the rejection, but I felt pretty excited because I did these things. And your friend or your mentor, right? Somebody, hopefully they're supporting your action. You know, they're here to support you, to love you, and you get these rejections. These seems to be, someone that rejected you, but you'll get your validation from your friends, your mentors, and guess what? You're gonna get the validations ultimately from yourself. So these are the baby steps. Okay, as soon as you kind of feel like rejection is all right, and me for instance, as far as the fear is concerned, it's getting a lot less. Well, then you raise the bar a little bit. Well, not only I'm still looking for rejections, but now I'm looking for a strong intro. Okay, I'm working on that, right? Tonalities, the way you say hello, how are you doing today, or whatever your opening line is, you know, your openers, right? Or your pickup lines in dating world, it doesn't matter, but have a strong intro. Really work on that. So the goal is really, nail that first 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds on the phone. My goal was, am I getting a positive first response from that person? That person can hang up on me later. That conversation can go south, soon after. But at least I know that first 3 second, first 5 second, I've gotten a lot better. And I promise, and then after that, raise the bar again and again. And I promise you this: if after you've done enough of these things, it actually doesn't take a whole lot. You know, you would automatically become better. Especially this is again from my personal experience. Um, if you want me to do the same thing for enough of times, what's in my mind is not fear anymore, but the feelings of this is boring, this is tedious. This starts to take more, it starts to show up more than the fear itself, because now you're getting more used to such an action. If you're doing something and then you start to feel like this is a little bit boring, this is a little bit tedious, I'm getting a little bit bored, guess what? That's when creativity comes in. You'll be like, let me throw something else in there, right? Let me mix it up a little bit. So once you start doing that, guess what? Your mind, has more rooms to grow. Now, go get your sauce. You got the spaghetti, you got the meatball. Now you need the education, you need the information. Now make your sauce taste better. So, start realizing, start recognizing these moments. But you start with taking baby step. And a lot of these people, especially these young agents, are young and hungry. They're inspired by all these like great people who are hustling and stuff, right? They're doing 500 dials a day, 5 hours a day dialing and talking to 100 people a day. Those are very impressive. Don't compare yourself with those people. Okay, if you're still struggling with a fear, trying to overcome the fear, do not compare yourself with those people. Okay, they're at another level that you will eventually get to, or you don't have to. We're talking about more efficiencies, avoiding burnouts. And you got to have your mental, which is what I talked about first, in place as a good foundation, and take good baby steps, to avoid burnouts, to always have internal self validations and a good support group. Okay, you don't want, the last people you want in those support systems are people that are very insensitive. Maybe that person, goes out every day, hustling, and he doesn't care, right? There are a lot of people out there that are like that. They don't have any feelings, right? They basically they're insensitive, all right. No, they a lot of successful people are that way. That's just their personality. Fear is never part of their problem. They just don't give a crap. Yes, you don't really, and obviously, if you're struggling with fear, overcoming such, fear, nothing wrong with you. It just means you are more emotional, you're more sensitive to feelings, that kind of person. Okay. And you don't want to hear from people that are insensitive, inconsiderate. All they do is just telling you to suck it up and go push for yourself, giving you tough love. You need tough love. There's a place for tough love, but tough love has to come from someone that that cares about you, that loves you. You don't want tough love from people that you don't know, who gave you tough love in such insensitive, inconsiderate way. So, don't compare yourself with all these like young hustlers on the internet that don't know your situation, that don't know your where you're at in life, and they'll just tell you, hey, yeah, yours a rookie number, man. You gotta beef it up. You gotta do this. Tell them to go. Tell them to go do something with themselves. You know what I mean? You should have a support group of people who will accept you for who you are, and they would admire you for the things that you're doing, and support you and validate you, and you validate yourself. Okay. And they can be your accountability partner. They're the one who's going to give you tough love if you need tough love. Okay. So, I mean, at the end, you should also feel a little bit excited because now you're getting these spaghettis and meatballs, right? The rejections and the ability to you'll definitely start to see your mental fortitude has gotten a lot better. So the next rejection that you get, now you feel like, it's no big deal, right? You can move on. So just realize that, you know, not only you validate yourself, but also you should be excited that your favorite hero, right? Your favorite celebrity, successful person that you admire so much, you can just imagine that person has been there and done what you're doing right now. Hundreds of thousands times more. So given time, you will have that person's mental fortitude. Okay, you may not be as successful as that person in terms of material possession, but in terms of what's in your mind, you can literally be like, guess what, man? I am gonna be at that person's level in the spiritual world. And if that person, whoever your hero is, whether he's alive or dead, no matter, if he sees what you're doing now, he'd be proud of you right now. So these are the things that should get you excited. Okay. So in summary, okay, this is a two-part process of overcoming fear. And this is from my experience not too long ago. So, I'm glad that I'm sharing this with, through this video, because, what I've gone through is still very fresh in my mind. The two-step process. Number one is you got to set a good foundation. Okay. It's all internal work. Have a positive view on the action you're about to take. Find a strong why that is beyond just money and sex and get rich quick type of thinking. You got to have a much stronger why and motivation. Okay. And so these are the two main things that will take care of your mental, like the internal world of your mind that's stopping you. And the second part is take baby step, have a strong support group, and make sure you validate yourself every day. And then you raise the bar, raise the expectations slowly. Okay. Never set your expectation to be something that's beyond your control. Like, that person's gonna give me business on the phone, I'm gonna close that person on the phone. Don't ever aim for those things. Just like when you approach a woman or a man, If your goal is to take that person home, then, I'm sorry, man, it's going to be very difficult. Don't do that. Focus on, guess what? Have I done well on my part? So take baby step, in terms of actions. Once you do these two things, when you have these two part process in place, you'll be able to conquer your fear in a pretty quick, short amount of time. Hope this helped, guys. I mean, like and subscribe to my channel for all of my future videos about real estate, live cold calls, and some personal developments and much more. Have a great day and see you next time.